Hi there and welcome to the next episode in Distillique's Distillery Visits. Today we're in Gauteng, or just outside Gauteng in the northwest province, in the town of Hartbeespoort Dam, where we're at Incendo Distillery, where we're visiting Francois Hubert, the distiller and owner here at Incendo.
Hi, I'm Francois Hubert. I'm the owner, the distiller, the bottler, the barman and the bookkeeper for Incendo Distillery. Our distillery is located in the beautiful and picturesque Hartbeespoort area in northwest province of South Africa. We're basically on the doorstep of Gauteng. We're a major tourist hub and we attract a lot of visitors to our tasting room every week. So I was about 14 years old and I went down to Robertson in the Western Cape. I was just going to harvest some peaches over a December holiday for pocket money. But as it turns out, I'm colorblind. Couldn't see the difference between a green and a ripe peach in the tree. So they had to find other work for me to do, and that ended up being distilling apricot mampoer. So that's where the interest and the love for distilling started. Over the years in my res room in university, I distilled stuff. When I started working, got a small 25-litre copper pot still. Later on 100-litre tall, 2-meter tall column still, and when the fermentation drums in the house became too much, my wife said I needed to start move out my hobby, and then we started the distillery. I think firstly there's a lot of regulatory loopholes you have to jump through, and then dealing with all of these regulatory things on a day-to-day basis. You tend to think you're going to become a distiller, but at the end of the day you spend a lot of time on paperwork and ensuring that you're compliant with a lot of the requirements set on you. That's definitely been one of the challenges. Another challenge that I've had, not being a DIY kind of person, is plumbing, burst pipes, kind of DIY stuff like that, fixing things. That's been quite a challenge, and especially if you're in the midst of production, you don't want something broken down to stop you from producing a product. So that's been quite an interesting time. Actually, over the weekend we had a reverse osmosis filter canister break, and the whole place was underwater. It had to be fixed, and these kind of things you have to do on the fly as you go. So actually, I've learned to improve my DIY skills a lot as well. So I really love experimentation, which you can probably see with the size of our product range. But excluding this product range, we contract distill for about 6-7 other brands, up to about 28 different gin variants. But we actually started this distillery off, our very first product was our ID Golden Rum. I actually first started development and distillation of that while I was still a home distiller, and as we opened the distillery, we entered that into the Michelangelo International Wine and Spirit Awards, and we won the trophy for the best rum. That was back in 2018 when we started. But now the problem you've got is that as a startup distillery, you don't have a lot of stock in your barrels. So we had the unique challenge of having a distillery and people knowing of us, but we didn't have any other products except our rum. We also had a rum liqueur which we made, which was our salted caramel. So that is the same rum base. We take sugar, we melt the sugar, caramelize it, add it with a little bit of salt into the rum to make the salted caramel liqueur. So what then happened was I decided, okay, let's do some gin. So we started development on our Magalies gin range. Being in Hartbeespoort, the Magalies Mountains are behind us. So the Magalies gin is quite a complex gin. It's got 16 different botanicals. Main flavor profiles in it are citrus driven, so lemon, lime, lemongrass, lemon verbena. Obviously being in the Magalies Valley, we've got a lot of citrus farmers, so we get our lemons from the citrus farmers here. We peel all our citrus at the distillery ourselves, so the lemon and the lime. Then we also use the aloe pegleray, which is an aloe that only grows in the Magaliesberg. We use the flowers from that aloe in the gin, and then the rose-scented geranium, which actually grows in our distillery gardens. All the plants in our distillery garden we actually use in our products as well. So from the classic, we developed the rose and the lavender. So basically our rose gin is our classic gin, which we then infuse with rose petals and add a little bit of rose water that we distill, and the same idea with the lavender. From there, we also developed our juniper gin, which it's a bit of a lower price point gin, so we use a less expensive bottle, a less expensive label, and we distilled that gin with the bergamot orange, which is quite a very fragrant, interesting orange. Only one farmer in the whole of South Africa with these oranges. So we get the oranges from them, peel them, we use the oranges in there together with a little bit of fynbos. Some of the fynbos we get down from Citrus Dal in the Western Cape, but we're also starting to grow our own fynbos here at the distillery gardens. Okay, so later on then came some of our other rum products. So firstly we developed Spiced Up, which due to legislation in South Africa we're not allowed to call a spiced rum. Other countries you'd call it a spiced rum. So it's basically we take our new make rum, we distill it with botanicals. So we use honeybush, umondi, which has got some vanilla flavors to it, pepperbark, which is a tree which has got a peppery note to it, as well as some citrus in there. We distill that, then we first mature it in a barrel for a small amount of time, and we add some oak chips to it as well, and then we developed our barrel and bean. So similar to the salted caramel, it's also a rum-based liqueur. We infuse coffee beans in it, add some sugar, so it's very nice as a replacement to your traditional Kahlua. And then lastly, we developed our African Amber, which was basically launched at the end of 2020. It's also a bit of a more budget mixing rum. They're priced at about $2.50 a bottle, and that is only flavored on oak staves for a couple of months. Lastly, we've got our two brandies. So pot still, that's a pot still brandy that we buy in from a producer. We finish it in some of our rum barrels. And then secondly, we've got Rooibos and Umondi brandy, exact same pot still brandy that's finished in our rum barrel, which we then take, infuse Rooibos in it, and we infuse Umondi, which adds that vanilla note to it, and we finish it off with just a drop of honey, just to sweeten it a bit. So as I mentioned, I really like experimenting. So from time to time we do once-off products. One of these was our slow gin. So actually what happened was we had a batch of the rose gin which we made. I infused certain rose petals in a rose water, and the moment we added it into the gin, the change in pH made the gin go brown. So obviously brown rose gin is not going to be a great seller under the ladies, so we had to make a plan. Started doing some research, and we found that the British do a gin called a slow gin, which is berries from the blackthorn tree or blackthorn bush that they infuse in their gins. So we got some sloe berries from Britain, we infused them in that kind of brown rose gin and got this beautiful red sloe gin from it. Just did about 200 bottles, so from here we're going to do roughly 200 or 300 bottles a year. It's going to be a once-off, and we basically have like a waiting list of people who actually want that. So it sells out quite quickly and quite high in demand. yes, so that's just the long and the short of our product range. So our distillery is very experimental. We're always trying out new stuff. As I said, I do a lot of product development. So I've probably developed about 30 different gin recipes, of which we've won quite a few awards already. But for instance, what you see here is called a double retort pot still. So it's a 100-liter column still that we had, which we have basically converted into a retort pot still, which is something that's quite unique in South Africa. I don't know about any other distillery that's got one of these. They are widely used in the Caribbean for rum, but the Americans also use them. They just call it a thumper for bourbons. So we're busy experimenting with this still on firstly a whiskey we're doing, but also a rum that we're making. So we'll probably do some single barrel releases on that rum. The other thing that we do is I believe in real flavor, so nothing synthetic, nothing fake. So all the botanicals we use is fresh botanicals. We often get them from the farmers. We've got a dryer here at the back, so we peel our citrus fresh, we dry it ourselves, we harvest from our gardens. Yes, and I think that's kind of what we're all about, being authentic and real and natural, and nothing fake. So yeah, that's us. We provide work for 4 different people from the local community. So that basically provides income for 4 different families. We also, Hartbeespoort being a tourist hub, we kind of saw immediately that a lot of tourists in the area are looking for new things to do. There's not enough new things. Everybody's been to this restaurant and that restaurant, so they want a new experience. So in our tasting room, we take a very interactive approach. As the distiller and my wife as a co-owner, we actually interact with every one of our customers coming in here. We do tastings, food pairings. For instance, we do a gin and macaroon pairing, a gin and chocolate pairing, a rum and chocolate pairing, and then we do distillery tours where we show people how we make stuff. We've got the still running on a Saturday when our tasting room is open. So to try and show people and educate people about our industry as well. So yeah, I believe that the tourist industry is quite a vital part to Hartbeespoort, and that's why we also trying to do our part to develop it. What we also do is as I said, we buy a lot of our botanicals in from farmers directly. We support a botanical farm down in the Western Cape. We just support a couple of citrus farmers. We try and buy our grains directly from farmers as well. So basically we don't import ingredients. A lot of guys import malted barley, for instance, and stuff like that. We try and stay local with what we use. So as I believe that experimentation is quite important, and innovation is an important part of being a craft distiller. When you look at our barrels, you'll see a common trend here, and that's that there is no trend. Down there we've got virgin oak charred, American oak charred virgin barrels. There's an ex-bourbon barrel. This is just toasted American oak. These are another bourbon. All these at the bottom are your French oak ex-red wine barrels and an export barrel. We've got some 50-liter barrels, 100-liter barrels. So I try and experiment with barrels, with botanicals, and we're always trying to do something new, not be a stale corporate kind of company. We are planning to do a pot still brandy in conjunction with a wine farm, so that'll be a special release that we'll do. We are distilling the first brandy this year down at the wine farm probably. Then we are going to do a couple of single barrel releases of our rums, and then obviously there's the whiskey that's sitting in the barrel, a very nice whiskey which is a blend of malted barley and sorghum, very nice chocolate notes coming out of there, and we might just have adopt a barrel program where investors interested in our whiskies can actually adopt or buy a barrel of whiskey for the day where it is released 3 years down the line. The best way, if you're not located close by, is at our online store, which is www.incendo.co.za. We also sell from our tasting room. Our tasting room is open on Saturdays for tastings, but we are here during the week if you just want to buy bottles. And then we are in select liquor stores, some Tops, Liquor Cities and Blue Bottle Liquors, but mostly in the Gauteng area.